What is going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Schneid. Doing a solo show today. Have no fear. I'll have some guests. I got a couple lined up for the next couple weeks, but I wanted to do a solo show today. Talk through a couple things, namely, like the title says, my exposure reveal. So going through all my player exposures, quarterbacks, obviously running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, everybody. Showing you guys my process and my percentages for all my exposures. So I think it's valuable. You know, I like the feedback. You know, I'm probably not going to change my take if I'm being perfectly honest with you, and I don't think anybody should. So, you know, build out your own process. I always say, you know, no one does this perfect. No one can say that they are the best at best ball. I don't think. You know, obviously, there's some certain people that have won, you know, literally millions of dollars and won tournaments and things like that are, you know, above average. That's for damn sure. But I wouldn't say that their process is 100% the best and works every single time. And obviously there's luck plays a lot into it. But again, you know, take your player stands, have your takes, and then stand by them. And then, you know, draft accordingly. We always say, everybody in the best ball space always says, and I agree with it wholeheartedly, draft as if you're right. So that's what I stand by. That's what I, subscribe to. I draft like I'm right every single time. And whether I am or not, I'm going to live by the sword, die by the sword. So yeah, that's what we're going to get into today. And then we'll follow that up with a Best Ball Mania draft. So if you're in the chat, you know, put some questions in, whatever it is, hit that like and subscribe button, please. If you don't mind, hit that notification bell, let you know when I'm going live. It's pretty well every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. It might change here or there. Davis Pang came on last week or the week before, and we changed it up a little bit for his schedule. I have a guest coming on in a couple weeks. I'm going to have to change up the schedule a little bit there. Not a big deal. We'll still be live every Wednesday, pretty much for good, realistically. Maybe I'll take a little bit of time off later in the year, but this will keep going throughout the regular season, the regular NFL season, turn into kind of a redraft show. So stick around, and hopefully we can get some good content to you year round. So that's the plan. But let's, like I said, let's jump into this a little bit. Let's talk through a few things here. I want to start it off with something that I've shown on the channel before, and I'm going to show again just to show kind of the depth that I go into and the process that I follow and that I subscribe to, and try to give myself an edge or a leg up. At least, you know, I perceive it as that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm going to be wrong if I'm wrong anyways, right? So I might as well put in some extra work and see if I can kind of outsmart everybody else, which is pretty unlikely, but I'm going to take a shot either way. So I'm going to show this spreadsheet that I made for myself. Talk through it a little more than I did previously, but I haven't touched on it in a few weeks, few months maybe, but I'm going to bounce into it here. So the way I did this is I built a little bit of a formula with the help of ChatGPT, input all the information, all the statistics from last year's defenses specifically. So here's all the teams, and these are all of their run defense and then pass defense, mostly using numbers from last year. So I went through, built a formula, like I said, punched in the info, weighted the info, and punched out a score that you can obviously see here, and then ranked them and color coded it. So obviously you see 1 through 32 here. And then color coded the dark green are the teams that I'm focusing on targeting, you know, offenses that play against them in the fantasy playoffs. So the Cardinals, I think, might have one of the worst teams in the NFL this year, and certainly one of the worst defenses. Both pass, and they got worse in run defense. Obviously, JJ Watt retires, things like that. So this is a team that I'm targeting. And then basically I looked at the depth chart. Shout out to ourlads.com for the depth chart work that they do. Took a look through every single depth chart for all these teams, and then just kind of do I think they went up or got better? Do I think they got better? Do I think they got worse? Are they staying the same? That sort of a thing. The Tennessee Titans didn't draft a single defensive player this year, for instance, but they stay, still good again, very, very good, one of the best in the league against the run. And then they're still probably going to struggle against the pass. That's kind of, the way I've color coded this thing. No one really dropped to the point of being dark green, but the Indianapolis Colts got a little bit worse in the passing game. A lot of teams improved. The Jags got better in run D. The Cowboys got better both in the run and the pass. I think the Cowboys might be one of the best, if not the best, defense in the NFL this year. So that's a team that I'm trying to avoid in the fantasy playoffs. But obviously, you're going to take your stacks and take your game stacks. And I'm not discriminating against Detroit Lions players. I'll tell you that much. So just a little kind of spreadsheet that I built for myself keeps me on point. If I'm drafting, a high stakes type of a league, like a Dalmatian, then I'll absolutely have this up on a separate screen. And I've got two screens here. I'll have it up on one, and I'll be doing the draft on the other. And I'll be sure that to not put myself into a corner at times. And if it's between two players, I might look at my spreadsheet here, and it might sway me one way or the other. So that's what I've done. Then all the teams and their week 15, 16, 17, those are the fantasy playoffs, obviously, all of those matchups. And then obviously those are color coded as well, whether I'm targeting quarterbacks, usually quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends are all going to be targeted together. And then the running backs in the room. So this is something that I've built. I highly encourage anyone to do as much or as little, I guess, studying and build as much information for yourselves. And, if you feel like it gives you an edge, I feel like it gives me an edge in drafts. And I feel like I can look at this, call on this, and, it's going to steer me in better directions for making better draft picks. That's how I look at it. And, again, I'm going to live by it and die by it. So if it works, then amazing. If it doesn't, I'm still going to do it again next year anyways. It just keeps me on point and, sways me if it's between two players type of thing. So there you go. So some teams that I'm focusing on, I did start something out here. I won't fill this out because this is just a little too much, but I might dig into this a little bit. It's just the ADPs are changing. And, it might depend on what builds I've been doing a little too much of or not enough of, and that'll sway me in the first round. And then it kind of builds out from there. But and players that I was kind of focusing on early, these are some of the names here, whether I have or not. Obviously, we're going to see in a second here when I go over my player exposures, whether I've targeted these players or not. I had Minnesota running back. I wrote this when Dalvin Cook was still on the team, so I wasn't sure if it was going to be him or Madison. I was quite confident it would be Madison. So I just said Minnesota running back because also, Ty Chandler, Dwayne McBride, that sort of a thing. And then these teams, wide receivers and tight ends, obviously we all know who the first and second wide receiver on most teams and tight ends are. So I didn't feel the need to name names on every single team, just, fire it up there. So I know where to look and I know where to go. So yeah, that's again, just something that I've built for myself. I think it's highly valuable for me. So I encourage you to build something out for yourselves if it works. And then, you can expand on it because I've expanded on this every year. I didn't have a score before. Now I do. So again, I just keep building on this thing and hopefully it gets better and more precise. And then, hopefully I can bink a big tournament this year. That's the goal always, right? So there you go. Build something for yourselves, but that's just a little example of something I've done. Next, I'm going to pop into Underdog here and pull up my player exposures. That's hopefully what everybody came for. All right. And then, like I said, we'll follow it up with a draft. So we'll look at teams drafted 98 in pre-draft best ball. So that's the big board, 98 teams. I'm at 157, post-draft best ball teams, whatever you want to call it, regular season best ball drafting. 157 right now, but I've got like 20, couple picks for the puppy too. I've got like 20 rolling for the puppy too. So we'll dig into that quickly again. Actually, let's go back and let's talk a little bit about the pre-draft stuff just for a second here. So let's look at some exposures there. Highest exposure in the pre-draft process, Mac Jones. I started slow in the regular season drafting Mac Jones. I think that Bill O'Brien coming on is going to make this team that much better. Looking at Mac Jones's efficiency in downfield balls with Alabama. And then Bill O'Brien moving to Alabama last year, supposedly Mac Jones taught him the offense and everything like that. I like Mac Jones a lot. I think he's getting a lot of unjust hate. And I think that this year he's going to bounce all the way back to, at the very least, rookie numbers, if not better. I think he can certainly improve on these numbers as a third-year quarterback in this league. Maybe they get another weapon in DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see how that works out. But he's my number one exposure in pre-draft best ball, almost 50% of my 98 teams. And then obviously stack it up with Mike Gesicki. So, this is a guy that Bill O'Brien really likes. They signed him relatively early. I don't remember his contract off the top of my head, but they paid him enough to make it worthwhile. That's for sure. And then if he lands, honestly, like where I was drafting him was, what was the ADP for him? 178. I don't even know if it started that high. That's why I was drafting him so much. I think he was pushing 200 to start the best ball, the big board season type of thing. But if he even finishes just somewhere between these two seasons at about 100 points roughly, that's fine for that ADP, especially being drafted typically as my tight end 3, maybe maximum tight end 2, never my tight end 1. So, I'll take that, obviously 38 times out of 98 teams. DJ Chark, I wasn't exactly expecting him to go to Carolina. As that news came out, I slowed down. I think I was drafting him too much. I definitely do not like this exposure right here in the big board drafts. It's a little bit too much. Same with Donovan Peoples-Jones. I liked him before Elijah Moore came into the picture. And especially if DeAndre Hopkins ends up going to Cleveland, that's going to hurt that exposure there. But, the process was okay at the time. I don't regret it at the time because, I was drafting a lot of, Deshaun Watson as well. So it made a lot of sense, again, at the time. Van Jefferson, I'm going to have similar exposure to him in the post-draft best ball, regular season best ball, whatever you want to call it. 30 times, 30%. I like that. That's probably close to where I'll be in the regular season drafting. Cade Otton, again, another tight end 3, not even tight end 2 probably, but tight end 3, draft ADP 231. So he was basically free. If he adds another 30 points again and gets to that 100 total points mark, that's completely fine for my tight end 3, with 20 roster spots in the big board. So I was pretty much always drafting 3 tight ends, which I do a lot in the regular season best ball as well. But certainly when you're getting 20 roster spots, it just makes sense. So I was picking up a lot of Cade Otton. Certainly won't have anywhere near this for any tight end, especially, Gesicki as well. Considering what I just said, right? I was pretty much always drafting 3 tight ends in the big board. And it's, hit or miss. It's here and there. It's not every single draft that I'm drafting 3 tight ends in regular season best ball, but I certainly am mixing it in. But the exposures just won't get nearly as high as I had in the pre-draft process. Alec Pierce, again, a little too heavily, but I was not expecting Anthony Richardson to go to the Colts, obviously, at this time. So that hurts that exposure a little bit. Terrace Marshall, I love, and you'll see in a second, I'm still pretty high on him. Drake London, I think, was going too low at the time. We've seen his ADP rise in regular season best ball drafting. Chase Brown, I'm still super high on him. You'll see it similar. Tank Bigsby, same thing. And again, I kind of slowly started drafting regular season best ball and wasn't taking a lot of Patriots early, not like I was with the big board here. Mostly because I don't particularly love their playoff schedule. But, again, I'm trying to add them in more and more, especially, Mac Jones, Gesicki. I've been drafting a ton of Tyquan Thornton, who you see, next on the list here. And then Ryan Tannehill as well. Again, I was drafting 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends in pretty much every single team in the big board. I was just structuring it like that, and made a huge bet on CJ Stroud going to Carolina. That didn't work out. It is what it is. What are you going to do? You take your shots when you don't know all the information. You don't know where these players are landing. I didn't take him realistically much at all with Houston pre-draft, but it is what it is. So we'll see how this works out for the big board stuff. But let's jump into the regular season stuff. That's a little more important, a little more pertinent for what we're talking about today. So again, 157 teams. Let's go over that. I got 3 Dalmatian 2 entries, so that's maxed out. Happy with that. I'm going to talk about how I look at that strategy a little bit different. 4 of 12 move on to the second round. And that's really all you have to do is advance in that in order to make money, and then see where you're at. Again, I draft as if I'm right. I have some game stacks mixed in there. I'll go through it again. I might go through all 3 teams. And I probably will, because quarterback, I think, is very important in the Dalmatian and the higher stakes type of tournaments. So I'll talk through the strategy I had with those three entries in the Dalmatian. 19 entries in the Best Ball Mania so far. I'm a little behind on that, but I'm not too concerned about that whatsoever. I'll do my 20th tonight, and we'll keep it going. The Poodle 1, Poodle 2, max entered both of those. 20 entries is the max. I'm happy with that. I kind of hope that they mix in another Poodle, or maybe a 20 entry max, 25 entry max, $10 tournament, something like that. Or if it's another $7 Poodle, I don't really care. Something around there I'd like to see, come up again. And to easily max enter, even like the Chihuahua and the Chihuahua, but Super Flex is going a little bit slower. But the Chihuahua, I just knew would fill so fast that I didn't want to try to rush, especially with all these slow puppy 2s I have going on. I don't love to slow draft at all. I actually really hate it. So I don't want to mix in more slow drafts just to force a max entry. I'm essentially forcing 100 entries into the puppy 2. I'm at 80 right now, but like I showed you there, I have about 20 running slow right now. So it's honestly kind of a pain in my ass, and I'm not really happy about it, and I won't do it again. Maybe I'll mix in, a couple, 5 slow drafts or something like that if I have to. But realistically, there's just so many tournaments getting released, realistically weekly, every 2 weeks, something like that, you don't have to force anything realistically. The puppy 2, was the one that I wanted to get the most entries in, because they have regular season prize in that, same like Best Ball Mania. It's typically, I'm not going to say it's the biggest puppy, but it's up there. I think 4 might be the biggest, the last one, but we'll see. And I could see a puppy Superflex coming out too, but I don't do, as you can see here, I'm not dabbling in Superflex this year. I'm just not. I'm going to avoid it. I want to hammer in on my strategy with the 1 QB and take it from there. You don't need to force anything. There's so many tournaments running. I got 157 entries, and we're not even, June's not even over. There's still 2 months before the season even starts. So I'm not concerned with getting my drafts in. And then 50 entries in the puppy 1. Biggest reason there, yes, there is some edge early, absolutely. But I wanted to wait until the schedule was released. I wanted to build out that Excel spreadsheet there that I showed you earlier in the show. I wanted to get that all set and ready before drafting. Again, maybe I did miss out on some edge, but what did I just say 2 seconds ago? I'm not worried about getting enough drafts in, and with these smaller tournaments that are coming out, the Poodles, the Chihuahuas, right? It's setting up kind of draft pods or ADP pods, I should say, where these players are kind of going to get locked in a 1 week or a 2 week kind of time frame, where their ADPs are going to get honed in and locked in for that specific tournament. And then, take it from there. Again, I'm not super worried about it. I'm not concerned with getting my drafts in. So that's what I'm at right now. First, let's talk about some higher stakes strategy, at least the way I see it and how I'm attacking these higher stakes tournaments. So Dalmatian 2, 3 entries. That's the max. It's not even the full yet. I probably should have waited until some ADP stuff kind of settled a little bit. But, I don't mind getting an early edge in the way I look at it, an early edge with ADPs in higher stakes tournaments, right? So let's jump into that. Let's take a look. So the first one I drafted, I believe was on stream. Yeah, this was Fantasy Dog Pound. I'm sure you guys know him in the best ball space. He was live streaming this. I jumped into draft on stream, that sort of thing. It's always fun to do that. So this was the team that I drafted. And I wanted to talk about, again, the strategy a little bit of these things. So I was 4th overall, and I picked Travis Kelce, yes, over Cooper Kupp. Maybe I should have taken Kupp there, but I was planning this stack with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Why was I doing that? Because, again, you only need to be top 4 to advance in these Dalmatians. So, honestly, I went into it thinking Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, that stack, quite possibly and fairly likely the number 1 tight end and the number 1 quarterback. That right there is what I'm hoping will push me into a top 4 spot in this draft. Again, I don't care about finishing first in my pod. I don't care at all. I just want to finish 4th, 3rd. I don't care. I just want to advance. That's all it is. And then Derrick Henry, very potential, very, very possible, for him to be the running back 1. So, that's kind of the way I looked at it. Yes, my wide receivers hurt a little bit, but I wasn't going to take Calvin Ridley here. I wasn't going to take Amari Cooper. Maybe I could have taken Keenan Allen 28. I'm not doing that. So, I wasn't going to reach. But yeah, my wide receivers might have hurt in this strategy, but if I'm right, and we're always drafting like we're right. So if I'm right, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes will push me into a top 4 spot in this pod, and then I'll move on and see what happens from there. So let's take a look at just the roster again. I'm sure I brought it back with some Bengals. So I got Tyler Boyd, basically at ADP, Irv Smith a little ahead of ADP, only 10 spots. It's not that dreaded 12 spots above ADP full round sort of thing. So, and again, it was just for correlation. I didn't really care about my tight end 2, but I wanted that correlation in case Travis Kelce ends up in my flex spot week 17. And then, yeah, a little bit more correlation. I'm sure there's, what do we got? Carolina, Giants and the Rams. Whatever. You can see my correlation here. Carolina and Tampa Bay is some in the playoffs. Jacksonville, I believe. Either way, I definitely got some correlation. And again, I'm banking on my strategy of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce advancing this team top 4 and then moving on to the playoffs. I don't really, I made money at that point. So that's my first Dalmatian team there. The second one I drafted, I did a similar thing where, again, I started running back, quarterback, wide receiver. I went Patrick Mahomes again because, again, you just want to advance. And in my opinion, you're going to need an elite quarterback to advance if it's just top 4 in these Dalmatians. Top 4 of 12 advance. And that's all I really care about is my advance rate. If I advance all 3 teams in the Dalmatian, I'm absolutely, I'm more than doubled my money. Way more than doubled my money. That's all I'm looking to do. And then we'll take it from there. Obviously, you want to correlate for your playoffs, but I just want to advance. So I could have running back 1, quarterback 1, and then we'll kind of take it from there. Correlation, Eckler and Judy. Let's just take a look at the roster. So KC, Jerick McKinnon, brought it back with Rashee Rice, probably got sniped on Sky Moore, I'm sure. Irv Smith again, Tyler Boyd for the correlation, Washington, San Francisco. I'm correlated and I have that top tier elite quarterback, top tier elite running back. You could say my wide receivers are a little weak, sure, again, but all I care about is advancing. All I care about is being top 4 in these Dalmatians. So we'll see how that works out. I'll show you my last Dalmatian, because this one I did go a little bit different, a little bit unique. I still started Austin Eckler, who I've been saying, if you watched the show a week ago or 2 weeks ago, he was one of my undervalued guys going in the first round, where his ADP was at, I can't remember, 9 or something like that, 8.8, 8.8 maybe, whatever it was. He has value to me all the way up to, basically 6th overall. So I'll take him 6th overall. I'll take him 5th overall if I really kind of have to. I really, really like Austin Eckler this year, especially in that offense with Kellen Moore. So started Eckler, Devontae Smith, went with Ramondre, Jerry Jeudy for the correlation with the Chargers. Arizona, Marquise Hollywood Brown with correlation with Devontae Smith. George Kittle. And then I went later quarterback. This was the latest I was willing to go for my QB1 in this structure. I still think that I have the quarterbacks to be able to get me to the, like I said, top 4, 4th overall. That's all I care about. Correlated that with obviously Jerry Jeudy. Who did I get for Cleveland? Wow, I have a naked Deshaun Watson. Don't love that, but at the same time, I still think that he's a good enough quarterback to get me that elite quarterback point total, week after week. And then we'll kind of just take it from there. Again, like I said, all I want to do is advance. All I want to do is finish top 4 in these Dalmatians, advance, and then take it from there. We'll see what happens in the playoffs. I'm not super concerned about it, but there you go. There's my kind of strategy in the higher stakes tournaments and drafts and pods, whatever you want to say. I'm looking for an elite quarterback for sure. 2 of my 3, I have Patrick Mahomes. And if I can get that number 1 at another position, in one of the cases, it was Travis Kelce at tight end. And then the other 2, was Austin Eckler at running back, who I think has a very good shot at being running back 1. So that's kind of the way I was looking at it. My wide receivers might be a little weak on some other teams. I might have missed some correlation, but those are tough draft rooms. The higher stakes tournaments are obviously tough draft rooms. So you kind of take what it gives you, type of a thing. But again, let's look into the exposures now. This is hopefully what everybody's come for. My big exposure reveal. So this is my regular season, 157 total teams so far. I've drafted 30 quarterbacks, 66 running backs, 92 wide receivers, and 35 tight ends. My most common roster structure: 2 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 8 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. That is by far my most common. And from what I've seen, the research that I've done in roster construction, that's typically the most, I don't want to say elite, but that's the most, common advance rate roster construction. Makes the finals a lot. So you're not going to sink in too much draft capital into one position. And then my second most would be probably 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 9 wide receivers, and then probably 2 tight ends, maybe 3 tight ends instead of 2, instead of 8 wide receivers. But that's my typical build for the most part. I don't know if you've been watching the show for very long, but I've been talking up Terrace Marshall quite a bit. I really, really like Terrace Marshall. I think that it's extreme value. He's still basically free, ADP 209, 210 roughly. And he's a 18th round guy, and I'll plan my wide receiver room around taking Terrace Marshall late. Look at his stat line last year: 47 targets, 28 receptions, 490 yards, 1 touchdown. He led the league in go routes last year, was the most efficient wide receiver in go routes. I like the way that Bryce Young throws a deep ball. Reminds me a fair amount of Russell Wilson. Obviously the stature plays a part, kind of just drops it into a bucket. So, and with the drafting of Jonathan Mingo, a lot of people say that Jonathan Mingo is going to be the wide receiver 1 on this team. You can make that argument, sure, but to me, Jonathan Mingo profiles more of a slot receiver, and I'm not the only one saying that. It's relatively common. A lot of people think it as well. I'm not breaking news over here, but I don't think that Jonathan Mingo is going to be taking targets away from Terrace Marshall. I really don't. So I'm not worried about that. The DJ Chark and Adam Thielen, go watch last week's episode. I dig into this pretty deep, but I'm not worried about those two wide receivers and eating into Terrace Marshall. I'm really, really not. With his age and his, athleticism, 6'4", 200, runs 4.3 speed. I'll take that. I'll take a shot on that in the 18th round. So he's my highest exposed player, 43%. I'll draft him all the way up to 80% if I have to. I really don't care. 18th round guy. I'll take that upside and kind of live or die with it. Jaden Reed, I'm getting a little aggressive with Jaden Reed. I'll say that. I think I should maybe slow down a little bit there. 31.8%. He's still a rookie. In what could be a slower offense. I see the Green Bay Packers running the ball a fair amount more finally, like they should have been doing last year, even with Aaron Rodgers. But I see them running the ball a lot more with A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. But I do like the prospect of Jaden Reed playing in the slot. I think that they drafted him, basically looking at him like they looked at Randall Cobb when they drafted Randall Cobb years ago, and playing him in a similar fashion too. He should be the kick and punt returner, so he's going to be on the field and then hopefully play that slot role, that every down, 3 wide receiver sets, 11 personnel, he'll be on the field. That's my hope. Again, I think I'm getting a little aggressive and I should probably slow down on my exposures to Jaden Reed. Devin Singletary still might be one of the best values in drafts right now, 154.2. If you look at his track record in his 4 seasons with the Buffalo Bills, I couldn't be happier to take him at ADP 154 with the way Dameon Pierce runs the ball like a freight train. There's opportunity for him to get injured like he did last year, especially towards the end of the season where it's going to matter in the fantasy playoffs. 78 catches in the last 2 seasons, averages, I think it was like 34 or something like that in his 4 seasons with Buffalo. He's always played in a timeshare, so I'm not concerned about that. That's a huge value. I'll keep steaming him up over 30%. I'll get to 40, 50%. I'm not too concerned about that. Kenny Gainwell, same thing. I think, there's a route to Kenny Gainwell, leading this team right from week 1. I think that that's a possibility. Not that I think it's exactly 100% likely. I just think it's certainly a possibility. And I'm drafting, 175 ADP. I'll take that. So none of these guys have a high ADP. Who's my highest ADP? 102 for AJ Dillon. Miles Sanders, 63.4. Again, watch last week's episode. I gushed over Miles Sanders. I still think he's got value, not too much higher from where his ADP is going right now, but I still think there's value there. And I like his upside in that offense. That's for sure. Let's take a look at quarterbacks quickly. Patrick Mahomes, again, I preach getting, trying your best to get an elite quarterback. I pair these two often, Wilson and Deshaun Watson. I pair those two quarterbacks quite a bit. It's easy to correlate the games, and it's easy to stack the quarterbacks. So I take those two quite a bit, and I stack them together quite a bit. Mac Jones, I started taking him a lot more. He'll probably get up there and be one of my higher owned quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, same thing. It's easy to stack. Justin Herbert, I want to get up to, potentially being my highest owned quarterback or exposed quarterback. Just because I think he could be the QB1 this year, and he's going, 54.5, round 5, 4-5 roughly. So I'll be taking a little more Justin Herbert in that offense with Kellen Moore. I'll definitely be juicing that 10.2 number up quite a bit. Kenny Pickett, I'm not the only one that likes his upside, that's for sure. Lamar Jackson, I definitely think he's got value. Jalen Hurts, you see the exposure there. I don't want to go through every single player, but there you go. Running backs, I already went through a bunch. Damian Harris, I like him. Najee Harris, I'm higher on Najee than a lot of people. There's a lot of closet Najee fans out there, and I'm kind of publicly, I don't mind Najee whatsoever. I think the volume's going to be there. So I'm happy with that. Touchdown upside should go up 10 in each of the past 2 seasons. This is basically the absolute floor for Najee, in my opinion. 200 points, kind of minimum. I think he probably lands maybe in between here, adds another 30 points from last year, and he's a quality running back. Tank Bigsby's there. Jamal Williams. Bijan, I've slowed down a little bit lately, but, he's still got relative exposure there. That's good. Zamir White. You probably heard it here first. I think on my first or second episode, I was chatting about Zamir White, and I've been drafting a ton of them. If you look at the dollar value there, I took him in a Dalmatian or two. Same with Austin Eckler. He could be running back 1. So there's my running back exposures, or at least my top guys. Wide receivers, again, I went through a bunch already. George Pickens, I like a lot. Elijah Moore, I like a ton. Again, easy to correlate with Deshaun Watson. Tank Dell, I've taken a lot less, which is good. I want that exposure to pull back a little bit. I still think I'm a little bit high for a rookie, wide receiver going in the 18th round on, what is kind of a hit or miss offense. I definitely need to slow down, needed to, and will continue to slow down. Tyler Boyd, one of the best wide receiver 3s in the league. Mims, I love the magnificent, marvelous Mad Marvin Mims. DK, Jerry Jeudy, Drake London, all above 15%. Happy with that, and I'll probably keep juicing that up a little bit. Tight ends, Cole Kmet, highest owned. He was my highest owned last year too. I probably should slow down on that. I just really like his ADP. It's easy to click his name where he's at. It's kind of in a bit of a dead zone in the draft, so it's pretty easy to take Cole Kmet, especially if he correlates. TJ Hawkinson, I'll be taking a ton more. His ADP is continuing to fall, which is music to my ears. So I'll be continuing to take him. I just think Dalton Schultz gives you a good quality floor for your, tight end 1 in 3 tight end builds. So he's, again, an easy name to click. Could be the number 1 pass catcher on that offense. Conklin, Pitts, you see the names there. That's kind of what my exposure is looking like. Again, I'm only typically taking 2 tight ends, maybe 3 max, but certainly not on every team. So yeah, there's my exposures. If you have any questions, comments, fire it in the chat there. But we're going to jump into a draft here. We're going to do a BBM 4 and see how that goes. So let's do it right now. BBM 4, waiting on 10 people. Wow. Hopefully this fills relatively quickly. I know when, there's chihuahuas and puppies and poodles and things like that going, that, the BBMs kind of slow down, and, it takes a little longer to get up to 12 entries. But, I think there is a lot of people that are avoiding the super flex like I am. So, not so bad. Waiting on 4 more people. If you're in the chat, jump in if you want to draft. But yeah, so when the puppy 3 opens, it's going to be friggin' near impossible to get into Best Ball Manias, because it'll take, half an hour to fill. Still 4 people. Hoping to get, a top 2 or 3 pick realistically. I've been drafting towards the back. And I've been saying this on a few streams realistically. I've been drafting towards the back end of drafts almost every time, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I haven't been top, 2 or 3 in a really long time. So it's really, and that really hurts your ability to get exposure to Justin Jefferson. My guy, look at the jerseys back here, Jamar Chase, even Tyreek Hill, who's now, pretty much your 3rd overall selection. Let's see if we get the influencer 102 is what I really want. I want 102. 4. All right, I'll take the 104. Any names I recognize in here? No, not really. Not a lot of badges. If you're in the chat and you're in the draft, drop a comment, let me know. But not too many names I know of, so it could be a weird room. A lot of times these badgeless rooms get a little interesting and a little unpredictable, which can be okay. That can be an edge, but it can also, really piss you off. So hopefully there's no, draft 10 quarterbacks in this and it just ruins the stream. If that's the case, maybe I'll just jump into another one, but we'll cross that bridge if we get there, and hopefully we don't. So those ones always drive me a little bit nuts. But this 104 is an interesting pick. I'm always going to be taking Tyreek Hill here if he's available. If he's not, I'm probably going to mix in some Cooper Kupp because I don't have enough of them. And I definitely need to force a little more exposure to Cooper Kupp. That's for sure. So I will if he's there. If not, I'm taking Tyreek Hill. So hopefully it just goes via ADP and Christian McCaffrey goes to 103 and he doesn't. So I'm going to go ahead and take Cooper Kupp. Actually, maybe I'll take McCaffrey because I don't have him enough. I don't have either of these guys enough. I'll stick with Cooper Kupp. Could be wide receiver 1 again. That's for damn sure. So can't go wrong with that. And then that's going to kind of set my, set things up for the draft. I like to, like I said, I have my spreadsheet open, see some correlation, look at some teams. So if it gets back to me and Saquon Barkley's there, I'm almost certainly going to be taking Saquon Barkley. I'm sure it's not super unique with the week 17 stack with Cooper Kupp. I'm very confident that is, a typical build for a lot of starts. That's, the first, second round, especially when Cooper Kupp was going, 5th, 6th, even 7th overall. But we'll see, because on the other side, on the turn on round 2, Barkley's falling. So good opportunity to have Barkley available. What's his ADP at, actually? Let's take a look at that. Still 18. So we'll see. Maybe he'll be there. Maybe he won't. Guys are going to have to, reach for a couple of wide receivers, and maybe we'll get the Kelsey Mahomes guy to stack that up in the second round, and then I'll have Barkley available to me, because that is who I'll be taking if he's available. If not, we'll play it by ear. But not likely to be Devontae Smith. Week 10 bye week again, not a big deal, but I don't love to do it with my first 2 picks. But I have certainly done it quite a bit with Tyreek Hill and Devontae Smith. So I guess it doesn't change much with Cooper Kupp, but like I said, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Austin Eckler, the 110, that's a easy smash click. CeeDee Lamb, I think we're going to see continue to rise. I think we'll see him inside the top 10. Yeah, he's just about there. We'll see him inside the top 10 in no time. I think 10.7 ADP. And like I said, I think we'll see him bump all the way up to potentially 8, something like that. We'll see where he finishes, but that's where I could see CeeDee Lamb kind of finishing the summer at 7.88, something like that. Garrett Wilson, Devontae, no real correlated stacks quite yet. AJ Brown, does he take Jalen Hurts and help push Saquon down? Does the Kelsey guy take Patrick Mahomes and push Saquon down? Diggs, with Josh Allen, or does he try to get him in the 3rd round? There's potential there. There goes Barkley. That's relatively unique. Travis Kelsey and Barkley. Pollard. Honestly, I really just believe in Devontae Smith over T. Higgins. And yes, look at the paraphernalia behind me here. But I think that the ceiling is higher for Devontae Smith than it is for T. Higgins, even though I think the quarterback play would be better with Cincinnati, obviously. But I just honestly think that there's the possibility that Devontae Smith outscores AJ Brown this year. I think that that's relatively not crazy. I could see that being like a 35% of happening. Whereas T. Higgins outscoring Jamar Chase without injury, for all of these conversations, without injury, T. Higgins outscoring Jamar Chase is pretty well never going to happen. Maybe a 5% chance of that happening. So I'll take Devontae Smith. He had a better season than him last year. It was basically the same seasons in a row twice for T. Higgins. So we'll see, but maybe I'm wrong, but I highly doubt it. It was literally a carbon copy of those past 2 seasons, were exactly the same, 3-point difference. So I'll take the upside with Devontae Smith there. Brian Robinson is my 101. Your 101, what do you mean by that? Juan Manuel Rangel. Like he's you're most exposed to him? He's your highest owned player? or you would take him 101. That's aggressive if you're trying to take him 101. 28th, I might just have to take Patrick Mahomes here. If this guy's not going to take him, which wouldn't have much reason to, but if Patrick Mahomes is there, I'll take him and I can worry about correlation later. I'm not letting him slip to the 31st pick for the Travis Kelce drafter. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, 7 points past ADP. I'll take Patrick Mahomes. Could certainly have the QB one and the wide receiver one here with Cooper Kupp. I'll worry about bye weeks later. I'm really not concerned about that. And with quarterbacks and wide receivers, I talk about bye weeks a fair amount, but I really don't care if they're positionally separated, right? Like I might draft one more week 10 bye week wide receiver, but I'm obviously not going to draft a second quarterback with the bye week 10. But I will only draft one more quarterback. When you're getting an elite quarterback in the third round like Patrick Mahomes, I'm not drafting 3 quarterbacks, period, obviously. So I'll take someone late that doesn't have a week 10 bye week that I can potentially correlate with, maybe a Daniel Jones. That might be even too early, actually, to take Daniel Jones. I probably won't. But you get what I'm getting at here. Maybe Matt Stafford has week 10 bye week. I can't do that. But let's see what we got here. Josh Allen with Diggs, that makes tons of sense. Jalen Hurts, Olave, CMC, don't mind that start. Lamar, the Mark Andrews drafter. I don't know if he was hoping, wow, Justin Fields goes a little bit early, pick 35. What is that, about 10 points above? 49. Wow, it's 14 points. That's aggressive. Yeah, I mean, I like this stack absolutely as well. The only crazy thing is now you have to take it at the 2-3 turn. So you have to be, at this point, it's been juiced up to this. And if you want to guarantee it, you got to take that stack if you're first, second, maybe third overall even. Then you're starting to reach a little bit early on Andrews. But yeah, you got to take it on that 2-3 turn if you want to get that stack nowadays. It used to go, you used to be able to get it once upon a time at the 3-4 turn. Those days are gone. I never got that stack in the 3-4 turn. I have taken it a couple times in the 2-3 turn where I am kind of forcing it, but I'm all right with that. I'm all right with forcing that stack because I really like the potential that could bring, especially if I have Jefferson, Chase, even Tyreek Hill, especially Tyreek Hill, actually. Obviously, week 17 correlation. So definitely like that stack as well. 2 more picks, 45th overall. If Najee's there, I'm taking Najee. This is kind of just what happens in drafts. That's why I just showed my exposures. That's why I'm so exposed to Najee Harris. If someone took him, not a big deal. Watched a podcast today, a YouTube show earlier today that was really talking up Jahmyr Gibbs. I do like Jahmyr Gibbs. I might take him here just to get a little bit different, potentially a little bit unique. There's not really any correlation here. And what they were saying in the show today, and I agree, he only needs, 10 to 12 touches a game to really, do some damage. That's really all he needs. And he's going to probably he might be starting, I'm not going to say he's going to be a starting wide receiver in that offense, but with Jameson Williams out for the first 6 games, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be catching some balls 100%, high velocity. And I'll take that upside. He drafted 12th overall. That's kind of crazy, especially in today's age of, hating running backs. I'll take a shot. I don't have a lot of exposure to Jahmyr Gibbs. 4 points past ADP. I'll take a shot. Start building my running back room a little bit. 52 overall, couple picks. I'm obviously hoping for one of these 2 wide receivers. I'd prefer Drake London. I don't anticipate Drake London being there. There he goes. If Christian Kirk goes here, then I'll probably take TJ Hawkinson, and I might take TJ Hawkinson anyways, because I'm just a huge believer in what he might be able to do this year. Could be, tight end 2. I'm not going to say he's tight end 1, but I could have QB 1, wide receiver 1, and then the tight end, 2, the way I see it. I'm going to do that. Hawk. No more bye week issues there with Hawkinson. So are you saying Bijan Robinson is your first running back in your rankings? Like you have Bijan as the 101 and you would draft him 101, or he's your number 1 running back over CMC and Austin Eckler? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying that he's your highest exposure? You have a lot of these drafts going and you're exposed to him a ton. What is it that you're saying there? One Manuel Rangel. What are you saying there? I like Bijan, but I certainly wouldn't have him as my my RB1 in my rankings, and definitely won't have him as my RB1 in my exposure. He's just biggest reason there. He's too expensive. It's tough to have a first round guy as your highest exposed player. That's for damn sure. But let's take a look at the draft board here. How long do we got? Kenny Walker. He's staying pretty firm in the 5th round. And probably will stay there. Madison's obviously up there now. I'd rather have Kenny Walker over Alexander Madison personally. Justin Herbert, he's gonna get boosted up to the 4th round in no time here, and it's justified. I think he was into the 3rd round last year in last year's BBM season. And I could see that happening this year as well. Especially, just with Kellen Moore coming in. Kellen Moore doesn't care about winning football games. All he wants to do is light up the scoreboard. And that works for fantasy football. That's a good thing for fantasy football. So you don't get points for winning games in fantasy football. So, if that's the mentality of the offensive coordinator, sign me up, especially for a head coach that doesn't really care, doesn't really care how the offense is run. In Brandon Stokely. Michael Pittman starting to fall a little bit, the 5-12. Kittle. All right, let's take a look at what we're going to be doing here. 7 picks away. Got to think about some correlation. Certainly won't. And this is another thing I said a couple weeks ago on stream was, a big reason why I'm drafting a lot of TJ Hawkinson is in builds exactly like this. This is what I said a couple weeks ago, and this is what I'm going to remind you of right now. So when I draft an elite quarterback early, like I did with Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd, I really don't mind bringing in TJ Hawkinson again a little bit early, but then I'm basically set at tight end and quarterback. Tight end and quarterback. I don't really care who my quarterback 2 is particularly, and I don't particularly care who my tight end 2 is. And I'm only drafting 2 of each. So unless I go 5 running backs here and 9 wide receivers, this is going to be a 2-6-8-2 build, most likely. We'll see how it finishes up, but that's most likely the direction that this is going to be going. Definitely don't want to go Cam Akers here. Just too much week 10 bye week. Plus, I won't be getting Matthew Stafford, so there's no real reason to take him. I'd love if Miles Sanders falls to me. People are sleeping. People don't like Miles Sanders. We just went through my exposure, and I'm a fan. I like Miles Sanders. I'll be drafting him all the way up. I'd probably prefer to take a wide receiver, but I can definitely get one on the wraparound here at 76. So that's what I'm going to do. And easy peasy. I'll take Miles Sanders here. That's an easy click. 6 points past ADP. No reaches whatsoever. I haven't taken a single player above ADP. I got a discount on Patrick Mahomes, small discount on Jahmyr Gibbs, decent discount on Miles Sanders, right at ADP for Cup. Obviously, that doesn't particularly matter anyways. Right at ADP for Devontae Smith. Again, 2nd round pick. Doesn't particularly matter. Right at ADP for Hawkinson. So there you go. I'm certainly happy with how this team is kind of shaping up. And I'm just going to hammer running back, wide receiver, maybe mix in double tap wide receiver, whatever I got to do. But it's relatively easy to build out my team from here. I don't know if I want to be taking Kadarius Toney here. Just my top 3 wide receivers are all out week 10. Not a big deal, not the end of the world, but considering I can get, Jerick McKinnon as a running back here, which fits my build for bye weeks. And then, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice. I could definitely see Rashee Rice, I could definitely see Sky Moore being at the very least Juju Smith-Schuster from last year. So there you go. Definitely not going to be going Kyle Pitts. Wow, that's a little early maybe not. That's a good pick. David Montgomery. Don't mind that team at all, how that's being built out. So I would have taken Jahan Dotson here. That's kind of who I was really hoping would fall. But I will be taking George Pickens here. I like his upside. This stat line was very, very close. The total points was very, very close to what Deontay Johnson did last year. I think he's got more big play potential. And yeah, more touchdown upside. That's for sure. Touchdowns are king in fantasy football, especially best ball. I want to address this, Manuel, man. Maybe in a redraft, but to be honest, in best ball, it's not. I wouldn't be drafting Bijan Robinson at the 101. That's for sure. You just get a lot of later. I'm not a badge bro, draft all the wide receivers first type of guy. I'm really not. Obviously, I've got 2 relatively early running backs that a lot of people probably hate. So there's probably a lot of people out there that hate this running back room that I'm building. I'm happy with it, but that's another story for another day. But you can get, because people are pushing up wide receivers so much, you don't have to take, realistically, you don't have to take a first round running back. I don't mind still doing it. Obviously, Austin Eckler is up there for me. Christian McCaffrey for sure. I have a ton of exposure, over 15% of Bijan Robinson as it sits right now. But I wouldn't call Bijan a league winner in best ball, in a best ball setting. I mean, it's, I could be completely wrong on that. That's for sure. Maybe he does end up being running back 1. And I just don't think that the difference is there. To take Bijan, to actually literally take him over Justin Jefferson, that's for sure. Because that you couldn't pay me to do that. In a best ball setting, you couldn't pay me to do that. Actually, in any setting, you couldn't pay me to take Bijan over Justin Jefferson, that's for sure, or Jamar Chase. So really early in the year, really early in best ball drafts, I did take Bijan 3rd overall once or twice. And then, as he kind of got pushed down, his ADP was higher at the time too. And as he got pushed down, I started taking him later and later, obviously, because I could get him later and later. So it just made sense. But let's take a look here. We're going to be definitely looking at a wide receiver if we can get one. 104. I'll probably trying to get Tyler Boyd. Might have to do it on the wraparound. I don't mind Rachaad White here. I have been taking him a little bit more and more. Huge pass catching upside. Should be the only dog in town there. And I probably will be taking him. I have a 0% Javonte Williams. It's been a complete fade from me on Javonte Williams, and I will continue to completely fade him. Not because I don't like the player. I actually, I'm very, very, very high, or at least I was, on Javonte Williams before that knee injury. That was just one of the worst things that could have happened to a running back. So I'm avoiding Javonte Williams this year until I see him bounce back, and then we'll kind of take it from there. So I'm going to take Rachaad White here. It's just this draft is kind of really falling into my lap. I'm not reaching on a single player, and that basically says that this will be relatively unique. Like, without taking a single player above ADP, that almost guarantees that this will be a unique lineup. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I like my chances that this is a unique lineup. That's for damn sure. Don't need a running back here, obviously. Wide receivers are getting steamed up and kind of flying off the board a little bit. I could take Jameson Williams here, but we'll see. For correlation, I'll certainly be taking Tyler Boyd unless he gets sniped on me. But either way, I'll be taking one of these three running or wide receivers, Sutton, Williams, or Tyler Boyd. Prefer Tyler Boyd. Anthony Richardson slowly sliding down draft boards, which is good. I will take him at a point, but I am not taking him at quarterback 10, which is what he was going at. Now he's down to 11. I might start mixing him in at quarterback 13, 14, 15, somewhere around there. I'll mix in some Anthony Richardson. That's for sure. I like the value on Cortland Sutton here. Don't get me wrong, with 7 points past ADP, but I got to correlate a little bit with my quarterback with Kansas City. So I'm going to mix in Tyler Boyd there. Like I said, I'm just going to hammer running back, wide receiver, boom, boom, boom. Just build out my two rooms there. I think there's a lot of value at wide receiver late in the draft. I know, people don't think that, and that's why wide receivers get steamed up the draft board, and that's why they get drafted so early, because they don't think that there's value there, which I can understand that. But given how much I draft Terrace Marshall, and I'm going to continue to draft Terrace Marshall, I don't mind taking him on a team like this. But with Miles Sanders, makes it a little less likely. We'll see what happens. We'll see when we get there. A little bit of correlation, Rachaad White and Miles Sanders. Might look at a Brandon Cooks is already gone. Might look like Gallup later, potentially. You can always bring in Jake Ferguson on the Cowboys. Oh, excuse me, just had to sneeze there. But yeah, we'll see. I like how this team's shaping up. I really do. Let's see where we're at here. Samaji, Darren Waller with Lamar. Very possible this guy stacks up Darren Waller with Daniel Jones, and you can always bring it back with a late round, one of the late round wide receivers from the Giants. Whoever drafted the Saquon drafter can do that as well, which doesn't have a quarterback yet. So I would assume that he's going to be targeting Daniel Jones to stack with Saquon, and then again bring in one of those super late round New York Giant wide receivers. So he could certainly go to either one of these two teams. Like I said, since TJ Hawkinson, running back, wide receiver. We'll see what we do here, but it's going to be either a running back or a wide receiver in both of these upcoming picks. And it will be till, a little later in the draft. Wow, that could have been a good spot for Daniel Jones for the Darren Waller team, even with Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't hate that pick there. Obviously, he brings in Odell for correlation with Jalen Waddle. Don't mind this team at all. Denver, running back stack. All right. So obviously I got a player in mind here, hoping he's there. Don't mind a little Juju at value, 10 points past ADP. Finally, Anthony Richardson goes, and that's a guy, like I said, he's got to go down the draft board for me to take a chance on him. 114. Yeah. If he starts going there, I might, mix in a little more. I have scooped him up here and there. I probably have less than 1% right now, Anthony Richardson. I will draft him if his ADP continues to fall. Obviously, I got to bring in Sky Moore here, get some correlation with my Cincy KC stack with Patrick Mahomes. So that's looking good. Could also bring in a Irv Smith Jr. I don't know if I will or not. I actually don't think I will. We'll see. Yeah, it's a little too early. Maybe with my next pick, we'll see where it lands, but I'm not going to be too worried about it yet. So again, probably, wide receiver, running back could definitely go Jerick McKinnon, actually. That's not a bad direction there. Yeah. Oh, I would have taken Jacoby Myers there. It gives me some KC correlation as well. So that's who I was actually targeting, was Jacoby Myers. I'm not really scared about taking Jacoby Myers, to be honest. I really like him as a player, and he should have the opportunity. He's going to play every single game. He's going to be playing in 2 wide receiver sets, 3 wide receiver sets, obviously. Yeah, I like Jacoby Myers. I'm not really scared to take him, to be honest. Let's see who ends up. Romeo, Zay. I don't want Zay Flowers. Could go Gallup here to mix in with some Jahmyr Gibbs. But I think I'm just going to build out this Cincy KC stack. I got 2, pass catchers at the end of the day. Jerick McKinnon, makes his hay in the passing game. So he's a pass catcher, is the way I'm looking at him. So I'll take him as my 4th running back, pair him up with Sky Moore, my 2 pass catchers from the Chiefs, bringing it back with Tyler Boyd. We'll see if I take Irv Smith Jr. I might, maybe not. We'll see what transpires here and how it looks on my next pick. Right around where I am drafting, maybe a little earlier, basically right here. The 130 to 135, 131, 134, that turn on the 11-12 turn, I take an absolute shitload of Dulcich and Russell Wilson there. So we'll see if one of these guys do that. That's one of my go-tos right there. Week 9 bye week, I like it. That's something that I like to do, especially because it's early, where you get Cooper, you correlate it. He's got Elijah Moore as well, Deshaun Watson. That's good. I would definitely do that. If I was Jorland 50, I'd be bringing in Russell Wilson, Greg Dulcich right here. Definitely needs a running back, but yeah, Jaylen Warren, there you go. Sky Moore, good choice. Don't sleep on Justin Ross. I'm not picking Justin Ross yet. If some stuff comes out in training camp, like, there's a good opportunity that Justin Ross doesn't make this team even, we saw some flashes in shorts and t-shirts, but until I see something in training camp or there's a big injury on that team, it's still possible that DeAndre Hopkins signs with the Chiefs, and then Justin Ross probably doesn't make the team. So I won't be taking Justin Ross, just yet. I know there are people doing it, but it won't be me. If I'm being honest with you, it won't be me until I see something in training camp and preseason. Likely in I need to see something in preseason games. I'd like to see him in NFL games before I draft them. That's for sure. I'm not, getting wet off of, shorts and t-shirt OTA footage. Where are we at? 141. 141 and then 148. Tell you what, if Irv Smith is there at 148, I'll take him. So this is going to be likely wide receiver. I would go Van Jefferson here, but that's too many week 10 bye weeks with only 2 more. I don't want to thin it out that much. If I didn't have Hawkinson, I would go KJ Osborne here. I don't want to take too many. Mind you, that's a good offense, actually. I might even just do that. I might just do that anyways. Just take KJ Osborne. He goes, no worries there. I could take my tight end 2 here and have a strong room. Oh, there goes Schultz. Okay, maybe not. I'm going to go with Tank Bigsby. I think he's got standalone value. Obviously, you saw my exposures to him. I like Tank Bigsby. Yeah, he was actually one of my favorite rookie running backs this year. And then his draft cap, I was concerned he wouldn't get the draft capital. That was my big concern, is to love Tank Bigsby, and then he gets drafted in the 5th or 6th round, which happened to me a few times. Happened to me last year. So I purposefully took less shots on rookies in the big board this year because of the mistakes I made last year's big board, where I took too many rookies that I thought would get drafted high and I thought would have a role. And then they, some of them didn't even get drafted. So there you go. So I was very happy to see the draft capital come in for Tank Bigsby. And he's definitely going to have standalone value from week one. And then if there's an injury to ETN sort of thing, or he's just not who we think he is, then he's going to get steamed up draft boards. That's for sure. Allergy season, man. Got the sniffles over here. Did I get scooped on Irv Smith? I did. Okay. That's not a big deal. Definitely going to be wide receiver. I think I might reach for the first time. That's too much of a reach. I'm going to take KJ Osborne here because I like that offense. They're throwing the ball more last year. They're going to throw the ball, more again this year. And if Jordan Addison isn't exactly what they wanted or think he was going to be when they drafted him, where they drafted him, KJ Osborne had a good season last year. He really did. So if that's his floor, I'm, sign me up at pick 148, 13th round, KJ Osborne. If he gets me 700 yards, 5 touchdowns, with a couple spike weeks where he makes my lineup, I'll take it. I'll take it. I think there's correlation with Detroit as well. Week 16, correlation with Detroit, correlation with Cincinnati. I'm happy with that pick. I don't have enough KJ Osborne, to be honest with you. I was drafting him a lot early, but his ADP got steamed up pretty high in the big board before they drafted Jordan Addison. And then there was less clarity with Jordan Addison coming in, but I've kind of turned the page back on KJ Osborne there, and I'll be drafting him a little more here. Oh, buddy, you're ahead of the game. Bill O'Brien is going to use tight ends a lot as he did with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. So look up Gesicki and Henry. As you may or may not have seen in my exposure reveal there, Mike Gesicki is one of my highest owned tight ends. Mac Jones is one of my highest owned quarterbacks. I do that a lot. It's very easy. You can bring in, I have a lot of Tyquan Thornton. He's one of my highest exposures. So I have a lot of Patriot stack. I believe in Bill O'Brien. I believe in that offense. And then you can bring in Pierre Strong as well. Last pick, 18th round Pierre Strong. I've been doing that a little bit. Mix it in. Super explosive guy, 10 touches for 100 yards, 10 yards a carry last year for Pierre Strong. Very, very small sample size for sure. But I definitely agree with this. Bill O'Brien, he likes to use tight ends that are skilled. Like, in Houston, we didn't see him using 2-3 tight ends and all of them having success. But CJ Fajedilim had a good season there. Akins had a good season there. If there is a talented tight end, yes, he will use them a lot. And I think you agree, that Gesicki and Hunter Henry are both talented tight ends that will be utilized in the passing game for the Patriots, especially with their weakness at wide receiver. I like Tyquan Thornton. Obviously, things will change a little bit if the DeAndre Hopkins comes in, but until that happens, I think the tight ends are in a good spot. So what do we got here? I think I need 6 running backs. I think I need 8. Yeah, so I'm only going to go with 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends for sure. Where are we at? Yeah, certainly not going to reach on Mike Gesicki, that's for sure. I don't take enough Rashid Shaheed, so I might take him here. I think I will take him here. Helps my bye weeks. He's a spike week kind of guy. I don't have enough of them. I'll give him a shot. I'll throw him in there. I only want to take one more running back, and I do have one in mind. I like Kenny Gainwell a ton here, but with Devontae Smith, I'm not making a huge bet with this build on the Eagles offense. I love the Eagles offense. I love their playoff schedule, but I'm not making a huge bet on that offense with this build. So I don't think I'll take Gainwell here. I might take Washington. I might take Curtis Samuel here. I like Samuel. Devontae Parker did sign a deal. That was an extension. He was already signed this year. So I think it's just cap manipulation, realistically, is all that was about, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but yeah, he did add years. And to me, that was just cap manipulation, the signing or re-signing or the new deal for Devontae Adams. It was just, cap manipulation, maybe to bring in DeAndre Hopkins, to be honest. So that might end up hurting Devontae Parker, to be honest with you. We'll see. I'm going to take Curtis Samuel here. He had a good season last year. Yeah, the quarterback situation may or may not be worse. Realistically, I don't think you could even say it's worse. He does touch the ball a little bit from the backfield and, running sweeps, just straight handoffs even. I'm not going to sit here and say he's Deebo Samuel or plays like Deebo Samuel, or they're going to use him like Deebo Samuel, like all this other nonsense that's getting thrown out there or has been thrown out there about Curtis Samuel and even, Paris Campbell recently. I'm not even coming close to saying that sort of a thing. But, if he gets 50 carries total through swings and straight handoffs, I'll take those extra touches every single day of the week. He still plays in 3 wide receiver sets for sure. He's still a quality player. He's still super young. I think he's only 26. He's kind of pushed down in these drafts, just because it's not a sexy offense. I've been picking away a little more Curtis Samuel here and there, and I'm going to continue to take him just, sporadically. I'll probably end up with 5 to 8% Curtis Samuel by the end of the summer sort of thing, but I'm not scared to take Curtis Samuel, especially as my wide receiver 8. He helps my bye week situation here. I don't think there's really any correlation to be had. Taking a quick peek here, San Francisco Jets, Rams. I got a little bit with the Rams in week 15, so that's cool. But, I'm just taking him because he has some spike weeks. He can score some points. He can be a 2-touchdown guy in a week. That's what we're looking for in the my 8th wide receiver is does he have spike week potential? And to me, Curtis Samuel does. Rashid Shaheed does. KJ Osborne does. I'll take those shots. I'll take those shots all day. 7 picks away. 3 picks left. Need a running back, need a quarterback, need a tight end, and I will be getting one of each of those positions. Could take a shot on Chase Brown if he's there. I like Chase Brown a lot as a player. I don't like Joe Mixon very much as a player. Oh, this guy just reaches for Mac Jones on a 3-quarterback build. That's cool. 16 points above ADP, not exactly optimal at all. That's all right. I will adjust. And then Gesicki goes. That's cool. Not a big deal. Really not a big deal. The Gesicki's fine. That's who I was going to take before Mac Jones. I was going to take Mac Jones on the other side of that turn. But if someone's going to reach 16 picks above ADP, good on you, brother. Go nuts. That's a little silly and certainly not optimal whatsoever. Mind you, round 16, take whoever the hell you want, to be honest with you. What am I going to do for my quarterback situation? Could go Tannehill. Could go Sam Howell. Don't love that, but it seems like he's going to be the starter there. I'm going to take Ty Conklin because this stat line, 100 points as a tight end, with the quarterback situation that was there with the Jets last year, with Aaron Rodgers coming in, I think that those numbers, go up. I think he has a better season, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers over the ghost of Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco last year. That was a little wild. Taysom Hill has some upside. Looks like he's going to be used in different ways. The same as last year. I have quite a bit of exposure to Taysom Hill, and I'm going to keep drafting him up too. He's obviously not on the board anymore, so can't be taking him. But I agree. I like Taysom Hill. I think he's an underrated just football player. He's a football player, and he's going to run the ball. He's going to run the ball. He's going to throw the ball. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to do all those three things, just like he did last year, just like he did the year before, just like he did the year before. He's going to do all those things, and he's going to put up points from your tight end position and have some huge spike weeks. I think he had like a 50-point game last year, something like that. So yeah, I like Taysom Hill, and I am drafting him, and I will continue to be drafting him. That's for sure. I don't know. This might be a Ryan Tannehill, just naked Ryan Tannehill team at quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to find any correlation here unless I go Sam Howell, but give me Ryan Tannehill over Sam Howell. But I do have rushing ability with Sam Howell. I think I just talked myself into Sam Howell. Let's do that. I got Curtis Samuel. I might as well take a little bit of correlation there. It's 1 week. He's going to get in my lineup week 10 as long as he's starting at that point in the season, which I really hope he is, especially for this team. And he has that rushing ability that, helps when you don't have a huge stack or you don't have a huge bet on that offense. So we'll see. Week 17 against the 49ers. 49ers have a weak secondary. Their run defense is fantastic, one of the best in the game. The whole defense is fantastic, but if there is a weakness, it is absolutely in the passing game. So I'll take a shot on Sam Howell when I drafted Curtis Samuel. I only need him to get in my lineup once, and that's week 10. So we'll see. I do have a running back in mind here. Do I like Roschon Johnson? I do like Roschon Johnson. Only issue being I like Khalil Herbert the most, in that running back room in Chicago. 5.7, I think, yards per carry last year. I think he's going to get the first shot. And then if I'm being honest, I think Deontay Foreman might get the second shot before Roschon Johnson. As far as a pass catcher, probably give me Roschon Johnson, but with a quarterback like Justin Fields, he's more likely to take off and run than to dump it off to any sort of a running back. So I like Roschon Johnson. I have been drafting him. That's for sure. I won't say that I haven't been, probably about 5% roughly. I'll probably keep it around there, and we'll see what happens in training camp. That's going to be a huge telltale sign for one of these three running backs ADP. One of them is going to go up. As soon as someone's named the starter, or, we see it in, preseason game week 2, 3, especially 3, the dress rehearsal. If Roschon Johnson, Khalil Herbert, or Deontay Johnson, whoever comes out with that first team offense in week 3 of the preseason and plays the whole first half and has 10 touches total, that guy's going to get steamed up draft boards. I can't tell you who that's going to be as it sits right now. If I had to rank them as far as who I think is going to get the first, second, third opportunities, right this second, June, whatever we are, 28th or whatever it is, I would go Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman, and then Roschon Johnson. But if we're talking about the passing game, I'd put Roschon Johnson, Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman. I just don't expect there to be too many targets for the running backs in that offense. Hopefully that answers your question on my opinion on Roschon. I like him. Good player, good prospect. After this season, we'll get some clarity, and he might, in like a dynasty setting, man, yeah, I really like Roschon Johnson a lot more in a dynasty setting than I do in a redraft or best ball setting. That's for sure. Last pick coming up, definitely 100% taking a running back. I'd like to avoid bye weeks, but I don't particularly care. don't particularly care about that. Could go with Malik Davis to match him up with Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't typically like to match up running backs in a week 17 where I'm trying to correlate week 17 type stuff. I don't typically like to do that. I actually it was mentioned earlier. I don't hate Cordarrelle Patterson. I have been sprinkling him in a little here and there. I have been. They're going to give him touches at the end of the day. They're going to give him a bit of an opportunity. This is a really good spot to take Jeff Wilson, but I'm gonna take a guy that I think has an opportunity to potentially lead this team out of the backfield, and he's still not getting talked about enough. I like Zamir White a lot, especially, fourth last pick in the entire draft. I might have taken Pierre Strong there if I had gotten Gesicki and Mac Jones. I probably would have done that and taken the, Pierre Strong there. Man, that hurts not to take Jeff Wilson, though, to be honest. Now I hope he doesn't get drafted in this pod, and that I think will help my advance rate out of this pod if Jeff Wilson does not get drafted, but he probably goes with this last pick here. Makes tons of sense. He really, really should, especially with J.K. Dobbins. There goes Jeff Wilson. That makes sense. So Chase Claypool still sitting there. Would I draft Chase Claypool? I was drafting him early. Those reports, man, are really, really scary. Like, it sounds like they are not happy with him. And he's been literally just handed this amazing opportunity. And they invested heavily in him with more or less a first-round pick. More or less a first-round draft pick 32nd. There was only 31 first-round picks last year. They invested the 32nd overall pick in Chase Claypool and said, we want you to be a guy. He did absolutely nothing last year to end the season. Obviously, that whole team and offense kind of struggled last year, but he exceptionally struggled. And that's really not what they brought him in for and gave away that massive draft capital for. So I'm going to need, again, I have been drafting him a little bit, sprinkling him in here or there because he does have good spike week potential. But until I get some positive news, any sort of positive news, and see him, in games in the preseason or, minimum training camps and things are looking good and he's practicing and taking reps the first team offense and looking good and things like that, I'm avoiding him until at the very least training camp. So I will not be drafting him until training camp opens. And I'm okay with taking that hit if he ends up being, what is he going to end up being? Wide receiver max, wide receiver 60, like 50. I'm okay with missing out on that value, to be honest with you. So let's take a look at this team here and get you guys out of here. 2-6-8-2 build. Patrick Mahomes, Sam Howell, Jahmyr Gibbs, got Miles Sanders, Rashad White, Jerick McKinnon, Tank Bigsby, Zamir White. Like this group, like the bye week correlation. Got a couple of playoff correlation in there. Pass catcher for the Chiefs. I dig it. I like Zamir White. I think he could be one of those guys. He could be a league winner, straight up. He could absolutely be a league winner. Could be nothing, but it's my last pick in the draft. A lot of last picks can be absolutely nothing. Cooper Kupp was the first pick of the draft for me. Devontae Smith, George Pickens, Tyler Boyd, Sky Moore, KJ Osborne, Rashid Shaheed, and Curtis Samuel. Again, not reaching at all. I realistically didn't reach in this entire draft, not once. I took value there, not once, not a single reach. And I like that. Again, like I said earlier, that kind of guarantees me to be somewhat unique. I got some correlation here with KC and the Cincy. Pittsburgh plays into that a little bit. Minnesota plays into that a little bit. The Saints and Tampa Bay, I like that. TJ Hawkinson and Tyler Conklin to fill it out again with the Minnesota correlation a little bit there. And TJ Hawkinson is my tight end 2 this year. He's my tight end 2. And until he gets drafted as tight end 2, I'll keep steaming him up and I'll keep drafting him. So there you go. There's the draft. Hope you all enjoyed it. Leave a like and hit that subscribe button if you could. I got one more question here, and then we'll get out of here. Yeah, no worries. Thank you. How about Jerome Ford? Do I like Jerome Ford? I really, really do. I drafted him in dynasty leagues last year, and he's been sitting on my my taxi squad, waiting for this exactly what's happening right now to happen. I'm drafting him a ton. His ADP is actually absolutely skyrocketed. He was one of my highest owned exposed running backs in the big board because I was taking him every single time with my last pick. When you were able to get him with your last pick in the regular post-draft best ball, picks rounds 17 and 18. I was taking him every single time. I like Jerome Ford. He's right kind of where he needs to be right now. I think his ADP is about 168, something like that. And that's kind of where it needs to be and should be as it sits right now. If there's an injury to Nick Chubb, he absolutely skyrockets up there. You could see a little bit more value up to about 150 something, 155, but for me, I'm not taking him over Devin Singletary. I'm really, really not. So that's kind of where I draw the line. I really like Jerome Ford. He was my my running back 5 in that draft class. So I really, really like him as a player. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question, but that's it. That's all we got. I'll be back next week. Bit of a longer show today. So like I said, hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. I really appreciate it. Share this with your friends. Hopefully I'll have a guest next week. If not the week after, I already have a guest lined up. So I'm very excited for that one. That's a show to keep an eye on. That'll be a really fun episode. But other than that, appreciate you guys stopping by, and we'll see you on the next video.